Hi everyone, my name is Josh, and today I want to talk about PUBG. With the recent release of 1.0 and the new map Miramar, I wanted to talk a bit about my experiences playing the game and some strategies that hopefully will help you improve at the game. Now, if you don't know, PUBG is a battle royale type game where around about 100 people all drop onto the island, and from there on they have to loot, and it's the last man or woman standing wins. So this is the first map. I'll get onto the second one shortly, but I wanted to discuss this one first. I should start by saying that I'm no PUBG pro. The best that I've done in solo play is top 2. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the chicken dinner then. Um, but hopefully I can help you and maybe myself do even better. I should say that I have watched other people and done research, so people like Shroud, Cyanide, Doctor Disrespect. I've done my research, so I know. Well, I'd like to think that I have some good information to share. Now, so this is the first map, as I said, and you come in on a plane. Now, the important thing to know about the flight path is that it very much determines how you want to play the game. Uh, because you can only reach certain areas from the plane. So, for example, if your flight path something like this, then this area in blue here, and I'll link these maps in the description, are the only areas that you're going to be able to reach directly from the plane. Anything wider than this, you're not going to be able to reach without finding a vehicle or by just running a little bit. So, when you want to load in, you're going to want to make sure that you are looking around, see where the flight path is, and sort of scope out the areas that you want to go, because it can very easily change the game. For example, something like this, which isn't too uncommon, is very interesting because you can have people drop off at the military base because it's very popular. People are also going to drop from Pachinki, another very popular place, as well as school and Roshok as well, which are quite close, and potentially even this town here. So it's probably beneficial to drop in one of those places because there'll be less people than normal. For example, sometimes up to 15, 20 people can drop here, but some of those people might be like, oh, I want to drop further up, so less may drop here. So if that's your game, it might be, scope out how many people drop where and when, so you can get an advantage in the places that you normally go. Talking about strategies, there are two that I've mainly heard of. So the two strategies that I've seen, and there's one that I've also seen and haven't played, pretty much because I'm a bit of a wuss and I don't think I'm that good at the game to do that strategy. So the two strategies, one of them, the first one, is to land in a place that's quiet, that's not popular, basically, and go from there. So places like here, maybe these places that have got a few buildings, got some good loot, but they're not big towns, they're not the school area, not the shooting range, the small places. And basically they quickly loot all what they've got, and they just hide. And they sit there, and they sit there, and they hope that the zone goes around them, basically. And if anyone tries to move through them, that's when they strike, and they kill the person, they take their loot. And then they either go and hide again, or they move a little bit. Now, the pros to this one is that if you drop in a good place and you get great loot, for example, like here, it's normally pretty good. This place has like 4 or 5 buildings, and then this like tower here, um, as well as this quite a popular place people move through a lot. Then you can really succeed by picking people off when they're not expecting you to be there. If you're very careful about all the doors, make sure they're all closed and no one can see that someone's been through there, then they might let their guard down ever so slightly. When they're moving through, that's when you strike, you kill them, and take their stuff. However, with this strategy, it's very risky um, for different reasons to what you might expect for other strategies. So if you drop in a place that has rubbish loot, you're going to have a bad time, and it can be quite time consuming. If you drop in a place that's got a pistol with 15 rounds, and you don't want to move, then you're in big trouble if someone comes along with a shotgun, because they're just going to bam, you're dead, time wasted pretty much. Also, if the zone is not favourable for you, then you're going to have to move anyway, um, and that's just going to reveal you to snipers and other players if you're running through fields. Um, that's not really great, and you do have to be very patient as well. The amount of times where I've wanted just to hunker down and wait out the zone, but I've just got bored basically, and I've ran off. Probably got myself killed most of those times. Okay, so the second strategy is similar to the first, but again, it is quite different. So you got your flight path, something like that, and then so you're going to drop in a place again that's quite quiet, so maybe a ridge complex in this farm area or along here. So in a similar place to before, but your job is to loot quickly and efficiently, and then you move. You can also drop in places that are on the outskirts, so you go as far away from the plane as possible, um, in places that you think might have vehicles or close access to. So you can see here, vehicles do spawn a lot in this game. So for example, if this was your flight path, you could try and get somewhere to like Gatka, you could go down here, you could go up here, or anywhere along here really. Lots of potential for vehicles of different sort of types. There's what 370 places for cars. Look at this across the map. So it's likely that you find a vehicle, unless you're very unlucky and you drop sort of these places that haven't got much. But basically, what you do is you loot and then you move, and you just keep doing that basically. You loot and you move, you loot and you move. So you sort of end up going around, and hopefully you run into places where people haven't been, because then you've got all this new fresh loot. So for example, in this flight path, let's see. So if you drop to here, there's a chance for a car in the area. So as you're dropping in, you can sort of look out, car there. So for example, if this was where the car spawned, you could loot these buildings, run back, grab the car, boom, you're into Georgia Pole. Or even if you want to risk it, Zaki up here. But that's dangerous. I'll explain why in a moment. And then suddenly you've got this whole town, maybe not to yourself, but there's only going to be a couple other people there that have done the same strategy as you. So you've got a lot of looting for you. So then you're going to get good gear, you're going to get good tier weapons as well, lots of ammunition and supplies as well. So you should be able to do well. Also, if you do have a vehicle, that's good because you can move to the zone if it's far away. So, for example, if you dropped up here again and the zone was on this sort of section of the map, you can sort of do a bit of looting because on the first zone you've got a lot of time, and then you can hardtail it back over with the car, and yeah, you don't have to worry about reaching the zone in time. However, as always, there are going to be some disadvantages. If you're a poor duelist like myself, which is why I don't do this one too often, you can run into other people a lot. If you're moving a lot across the map, you're more likely to run into people. And you're more likely to run into people that are doing the first strategy that I explained, where they just sit in camp. So you do need to be prepared for people, to come across people and to actually have to fight them. It's good if you're a poor duelist because you learn how to duel well, if that, quickly, if that makes sense. So at the start of the game, I was rubbish shooting, but now I can sort of hold my own. So it also requires good map knowledge of the building layouts and the structures and where to go, as well as mapping, if you can, other people where they dropped. As you're parachuting in, you can look around, see where other people are, and look for the places that you want to, target to go or avoid. For example, for this one, if you see a lot of people dropping up here, and you drop down here somewhere, you're going to know that the military base is pretty much empty. So if you can get a car, get in there, you're going to get some high tier gear. There's high gun loot potential, high loot as well. So you got good resources there if you can do that. Now, the third strategy that I don't play myself because I know that I'd be terrible at it and it would annoy me to hell is, let me get rid of this, it's a drop in the highly contested areas. Let me just, pretty much these areas. So the big towns, hospital, prison, school, shelter, and the power plants. These places where have got the best loot, generally, or the most, amount of loot, um, and that's where a lot of people drop. So if you've got the voice chat on, you might hear a lot of people go, "Oh, everyone drop school," and they just have a big brawl in there, and pretty much whoever wins, whoever finds a gun first, or whoever's most accurate. Um, it's a bold strategy. If it doesn't work, you just simply die, go into another game. At least it's swift, It's not like you're waiting for ages and ages and ages just to die outside the top 10. It does drag your rating down because you get lots of high scoring deaths, but this isn't a game about your rating, so that's fine, really. I'll hop onto Myanmar in just a moment. I want to go over a few more of the places that I like to go personally um, on this map. So my favourite location in the entire game is the Ridge Complex here. It's a set of 14 and a little bit houses um, that not many people go to. There are a few times where other people go there, um, but I mean, if you go into the other set of houses that they do, you can still find a gun and some gear before you combat them. So it's not like you have to try and punch them up or anything. You can often find great tier uh, gear and weapons. Like I found a tier 3 helmet there once. Commonly find tier 2 backpacks, vests, stuff like that, and you can find literally any weapon apart from the god tier things. Kar 98s, assault rifles, shotguns, SMGs, all that stuff. So this is my top place that I like to go if the flight path allows it. My other favourite place, if this section is sort of cut off, is up here by the school. So we have sort of two areas here, but I should advise that these are quite risky places to go. Such close proximity to both school and Pachinki means that it's quite a contested area. If people are dropping in either place and then moving around, they can easily come across these areas, as well as them being kind of popular themselves. But you do have, 3, 4 houses on this side, and another 2 in a warehouse there, as well as 5, 6 houses there. So good chance for loot. It's also a central location. It's pretty much the middle of the map, which means that any zone is sort of accessible or uses that area. Means you don't have to move early on. You haven't got to worry about just not dying to the zone early. But as I said, yeah, risky, but definitely good loot there. Now for Miramar, the map is very different, as you can see. So you've got bigger towns, I would say, but less of them, and more sort of little areas in between. The map is very open. There's less cover because it's not forested over. It's literally just desert. So it's a sniper's heaven in a way because you can easily get a lot of good long shots off, in this place. Now the popular places to go, if you can't tell by the size of it, Los Leones is freaking huge. So many apartments, buildings, houses, tons of areas for loot. Big area. It's like on a high as well. It's like on a it's high altitude, so you can look down on the rest of the map, like this area. Can I get evolution? No, I can't. But it does, yeah. It towers over a lot of the map, apart from these, big mountains. Other places, El Pozo, that's pretty big as well. San Martin's quite big. It's central. That's why it's popular. You've got the military camp up there, as well as down here. There's sort of the prison, which is the spawn area, and Los Higos. They can be quite popular. And Picado is sometimes, mainly because it's central location. It's got access to all parts of the map very easily, and you have to sort of pass through here if you want to get from north to south or south to north without going around. So it's a choke basically, and it's a lot of people have to go through it. On this map, my general favourite place to go is Crater up here, Crater Fields, or if I can't do that, then I go here. It's just north of San Martin, so you can sort of watch people in the town, get a good overview, and if you're good at sniping, you can pick them up. There's a chance for high gun loot in not many places here. Only, 3, 4 places on the map, and one of them's not even in Los Leones. So don't worry about that really. But this place is great. It's got 4, sort of buildings, a warehouse in the middle, and then some shacks sort of around the side. Plenty of chances for loot as well. Then what you can always do is come down here for this two sort of roadside villages, I want to say, which are likely to have vehicles. Yeah, there's 4 vehicle spawn points here, which you can then use to get up into the crater. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. Got a warehouse. These are all long buildings that contain good loot, often rifles, armor, stuff like that. And then on top of these, they're sort of like silos. You can get loot as well. And it's, yeah, a good place because there's only really 2 ways in. So you can get in this way, and then from here you can see the whole place, which is where I commonly go. So if you've got something like a car 98, then you can sort of overwatch the map basically. Again, the flight path on here does dictate a lot. You get a lot of sort of things like this, which means Lost Items is sort of out of bounds in a way, but people can get there easily. Or you can get things that come in like this, which means that Creative Fields is often off bounds, but this is hugely popular, and so is up here, this sort of area as well. Another place that I've seen popular is both Monte Nuovo and Power Grid. This is again quite a central area, sort of a choke point, crossroads, lots of people moving through that you can pick off and take out. As well as Power Grid is just a generally strong place, good loot there, and sort of kind of central as well. But how do you play it? Well, if you don't already know how to play the game, as you land in your specific area, depending on the flight path, something like that maybe. Yeah, best thing is to loot the close area, make sure there's no one near you, so if there is, take them out, take their stuff as well, and then it's just a case of getting to the zone. So I can't really show it here, but basically on the map, after a couple minutes of being on the ground, a circle will spawn on the map, and that is the zone. And what happened is after, I think it's 5, maybe 6 minutes, you have a little warning on it. The gas from the outside edges of the map will start slowly moving in. Now if you're caught inside this gas, then you'll take damage, damage over time, and if you don't get out of it, you will die. So it sort of pushes the players together, pretty much. So, if there's 2 people left on the map, you don't want the whole map open, you don't know where you are. He could be up here, you're hiding down here, worried that he's looking at you. The map never ends. So that's why it pushes you together, forces combat, and ends the game. Eventually, if the game goes late enough, the zone just closes in on itself, and suddenly the entire map is in the gas, and it's just whoever can last the longest, pretty much. So as you loot, you're going to find different guns. You're going to find, sidearms like pistols. There's a sawn-off on the Miramar map. Things like SMGs, rifles, and sniper rifles. That's the main 3. There's a bunch of grenades and melee weapons as well. Now I would go through all the weapons and say what's best, what's worse, but generally I think it's an easy enough thing to guess. Sniper rifles good at long range, rifles sort of medium range, and then you've got SMG shotguns good for close range. Pistols are only really useful if your magazine's empty, you don't want to reload, you just whip out a pistol, bam bam bam. As I say in Modern Warfare 2, switch to your pistol is faster than reloading. That's the only difference. But obviously, you're not going to want a shotgun on, let me grab the map up, on Miramar when you're fighting across open dunes, for example. So if you're fighting, you're up in Los Leones and someone's coming up here, you're not going to want a shotgun, you're not going to be able to reach. Each of these squares is 100 meters. So when you see how big the map is, it's 8 by 8 kilometers. So you've got to, pack a sniper, maybe a rifle on this map, whereas Erangel is more close range. So as I said, snipers long range, rifles medium range, shotguns, SMGs close range. That's pretty much all it is to it. Yeah. Now the other thing while playing you might have heard is the sound of more planes flying overhead. And no, that's not more players dropping in onto the same map. These are airdrops, and what they do is they fly over, take a random path, again like a flight path, something random like that. And if you watch them, you might see that a crate drops with a parachute attached to it. This is an airdrop. Inside that crate is going to be valuable loot, basically, and it's going to slowly drop down and land. There'll be smoke coming out of it, so you can see it when it's on the floor. Um, and if you can get to it first, you can claim what's inside of it. Now, what is in these varies a lot. Sometimes it's the top tier guns, so you've got the AWM, which is the top sniper, M42, M249. You've got the Vector, the AUG, not the Vector. I'm not sure what it's called, but you've got things like the AUG. So they're literally the top tier of weapons. Sometimes they just contain tier 3 armor, like the headgear, the vest, and the backpack, as well as things like medkits, which heal you to full. So airdrops are very valuable, but the thing is, they're very loud. Everyone knows when the plane's going overhead. You can hear it miles off, and it's very slow to drop, so everyone can see it. If they even just catch a glimpse of it, they can go, there's an airdrop over there, and everyone knows where it is. So approaching it can be very dangerous. If it's out in the middle of an open field, you can have a tough time getting to it without a sniper taking your head off, pretty much, is what I'm trying to say. So sometimes you can be that sniper lying in wait, seeing if anyone goes for it. Sometimes you just have to go for it. The risk is often worth the reward, but sometimes it isn't. So you need to know when to play it cool and when to just go for it. Sometimes they are empty because other people have got to it first, and then you need to get the hell out of there because you're in a very open position. There's not much cover normally around them, so you need to be very careful. I've only grabbed an airdrop once or twice. The first time I did it, I got an AWM, which is the top sniper in the game, and that helped me get to second place in that game. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to close it out with it, so they are definitely worth it. Okay, so as the game draws draws to a close, maybe there's only 15 people left. The zone's getting very small. The game can get very tense. I often find myself sort of my arms being a bit shaky. I can feel my heart racing. There's one. As it gets to single digit numbers of people left alive. I don't know who's shooting it. When the zone is so small, it's scary because it can be up to 8, 10 people in this area, but you can't see. Yeah, he killed a guy. He killed terrified. So the best thing to do is stay low, behind this tree prone, and move slowly. If you get up and try and run into the zone, you're dead instantly. People are going to see you, bam, shoot you, you're dead. He's seen this, obviously. So, be watchful, be able to track where everyone is if you can. If you see a glimpse of them, it's not always the best thing to shoot straight away. Especially if you don't have a suppressor on your gun. He's in that tree. As soon as you shoot, people are going to know where you are exactly, and they're going to shoot you. He's right in front of there. So, just be wary of that. Another thing is to take your painkillers and your energy drinks. These consumables that temporarily boost your stats. They give you better speed, better gun aiming, and if you get enough of the bar, then health regen as well, which is always useful in fighting, because it can give you that little edge. And otherwise, they're just going to go to waste. So you might as well take them and then go into the zone. There it is. Also, remember you have your grenades. You've got things like explosive grenades. Obviously going to damage your enemy. Smoke grenades help cover you. Stun grenades, which sort of lock people up, they can't do anything. And then on the new map you have Molotovs, which obviously create fire, which are useful as well. And then don't forget about the zone. You can be so tense watching other people that suddenly, bam, you're in the zone, and you're sort of, oh crap, I need to get out of here, because it damages you, as I said before. Also decreases your weapon, so you're sort of swaying a lot more as you're taking all this damage, which means it's hard for you to shoot other people. So stay inside the zone as long as you can, and yeah, basically it's going to do a lot of damage to you. Okay, so that's all I have to it in my sort of overview of PUBG. Hopefully it helps you succeed in your games, and hopefully maybe it'll help me as I review this, and hopefully you can get that winner chicken dinner before I do. Good luck and thanks guys. Bye.